Hi everyone. I wanted everybody to do all the guys to do the Sasha V review, but we've just been so busy I decided I'll just do it myself, and we'll get the guys involved in some other reviews in the future. Anyway, so today I wanted to cover the Sasha V and compare it to the DAW, which came first. So what is the Sasha V and what's the Sasha DAW? The DAW came first. It was introduced right around 2019. And it quickly became one of my favorite speakers, like truly one of my favorite speakers. And I've had the great fortune of owning and selling among the very finest speakers I've ever seen or heard. So the DAW just easily became such a spectacular experience for me. Relatively small, relatively easy to drive, expensive but not crazy in the overall scheme of things. And when I say it was one of my endgame speakers, I mean that I could literally live with that speaker and be entirely happy. What also made it very interesting is that it was designed by Daryl and his design team as an homage to David Wilson. That's why it's called DAW, David A. Wilson. David passed in 2018. So Daryl and his team decided they wanted to celebrate David's life, and so the speakers came about as a result of that. And I know because of Daryl's very close relationship with his father and the team, they made it an extra special speaker, and perhaps that's why I like it so much. I love it, as a matter of fact. And so about this year, approximately in June, when Wilson Audio announced that they were coming out with the Sasha V, I had misgivings. I'll get into that in a few moments. I feel that the DAW has much, if not most, of the qualities of the speaker above it, called the Alexia 2, but in a more compact package, in a more affordable budget, and it was also easier to create a beautiful sound. I mean that when you set up the Alexia V, you have to be extremely careful with everything if you want the very best out of it. Leveling has to be correct. You have to use really, really good electronics and cabling and just fuss over everything for it to sound spectacular. With the Sasha DAWs, it's not necessary. You could just do what you need to do, use good electronics, good cabling, and you will get beautiful sound. And so I really love the DAWs for those reasons. And we sold a lot of them, and in terms of electronics, we sold them to all kinds of clients using all kinds of electronics like Audio Research, Paris Sound, for example, Jadis. I can think of a couple of clients using Jadis. Macintosh, of course, we sell lots of Macintoshes with Wilson's. Hagel, one client was using the Hagel H190 integrated amp with his DAWs. And of course, D'Agostino. I would say the vast majority, in terms of percentage, of our sales with the DAWs went to clients with D'Agostinos. With most of the lines that we represent, we don't get much advance notice, if any, when a new product is going to be released. I guess manufacturers are afraid that if dealers find out, then they're going to spread the word, and then there's something called the Osborne effect. People don't want to buy what's current when there's something new coming out, and understandably so. Wilson Audio started notifying dealers about 2 months in advance, starting with the Tune Tots. This was so that dealers could get their orders in, because these products are all handmade and they take about 2 to 3 months to get your order shipped. Also, dealers can then plan any kind of events with clients so that when the speakers arrive and are broken in very, very quickly, clients can come in and start listening. So that started with the Tune Tots. I didn't find out about the Sasha V. Somebody at the factory forgot to tell me. And I was just thinking about that this morning, thinking, I guess I must have been a bad boy and Santa decided not to reward me. I found out about it because I was talking with Peter McGrath, who's a brand ambassador for Wilson Audio. We were making arrangements for me to go to visit the factory again. And he says, well, you're going to love the Sasha V's when they come out. I said, what Sasha V's? And he says, you didn't get the mailer? I said, no. And then, of course, he got extremely agitated and went through all the details about what it's supposed to be. And in fact, it was going to be shipping out in a couple of weeks, and I didn't have my order. And so he immediately took my orders and put it in queue ahead of extra stock distributors who would order multiple stock pieces. I would get ahead of that queue so that I could get my order in just shortly after the launch. I normally order our displays in conventional colors like black or silver, just because it's easier for clients to envision what that speaker will look like in their own home. And of course, when the time comes to sell the demo, it's easier to sell. This time, I decided I was going to let the Chinese in me out. I decided to order red. Rossa Corsa Red, to be more specific. So for those of you who know Ferraris, you may remember the Magnum PI 308 back in the 80s, the series, the Magnum PI, the 308, and the Testarossa, also called the Redhead. The color was Rossa Corsa, and those are the cars I also have had the pleasure of owning. During my visit at the factory, I interviewed Daryl, and he mentioned that the Sasha V has about 30 or so improvements over the DAW. Some of them are strictly for functional reasons, and many, on the other hand, are for acoustic reasons. I'll just go through a few of them very quickly. There are more adjustments now for better and more precise time alignment on the Sasha V. There's a new tweeter which features a 3D printed carbon fiber housing on the back of the tweeter. It uses now the same mid-range as you find in the XVX, the Alexia V, and the Alex V. It's using the Alnico magnet arrangement. It uses all new internal wiring designed by Wilson Audio. It uses all new copper foil capacitors, also designed by Wilson Audio and made in-house by Wilson Audio. And then on the top of the base enclosure, there's a plate of V material inserted in, and then you put the mid-range high-frequency enclosure on top of it. And the V material is a material that takes vibrations and converts it to heat. We actually did, Daryl Wilson in the interview did a demonstration of the V material. You can see it in the link below. The guys will put it on in the description box. And then finally, there's the acoustic diode at the bottom of the base enclosure that replaces the regular Wilson spikes. So to the sound, as I said earlier, when I heard about the Sasha V, I was oddly conflicted. And I wasn't sure why. I guess I love the DAWs, and while I have no doubt that the Sasha Vs would be better, I didn't want it to be better. It was just a very odd feeling. I never experienced this before. In all the years I've owned so many different Wilsons, I've never felt like this. So I found myself rooting for the DAW to be better, to be able to honestly say to everybody, well, you know, the Sasha V is wonderful, but there's this, you know, I like the DAWs, you know, kind of odd that way that I would think that. So is the Sasha V better in any way, if at all? Unqualified, yes. Absolutely much better in the most important sonic and musical areas, and I want to distinguish the two. Many of our clients love audio as a passion, as a hobby, and they will buy audio equipment to be able to hear more into the music, to be able to analyze and play with imaging and sound staging and so on and so forth. That's the audiophile side of it. And then there's also many clients who want to just experience their music and get really involved in their favorite musicians, bands, and so on. And with the Sasha V, both categories are substantially better than the DAW. I'll just give you some examples. The DAW's mid-range is absolutely wonderful. It's one of the things I really love about the speaker. When I listen to it, I find that I hear things in the recordings that I had not previously noticed. It was always there. I just wasn't so aware of it. It had a natural clarity. It didn't have colorations. I noticed, for example, with certain speakers, I still hear a bit of a hooded character, not with the DAWs. The only one reservation I would, if I really thought about it, that the DAW had from time to time was that on certain recordings, especially average recordings, and on strings and female vocalists, especially sopranos, it might sound a little bit hard. But again, I hasten to say, on average to poor recordings. And this is one area where the current Amati G5, Sonus Faber Amati G5, I think sounds more beautiful. It's not maybe as accurate, but even on average recordings, it would just draw me in, and I would hear that, yes, the recordings are a bit harsh, but I would easily get past that and still enjoy the music very, very much. Not so much with the DAW. It's not a huge difference between the two of them, but it's definitely there. With the Sasha V, no longer the case. I've got this beautiful sweetness, and the term comes to mind, organic, which I said I would ban as a word, but it really is. It's just a truly spectacularly beautiful sound. And in this current generation, the Sasha V is every bit as beautiful as the Amati G5s now. So, one big improvement. Micro and macro dynamics of the Sasha V are obviously better. It's not a small difference. Very, very easily hear it. You can hear the dynamic swings from soft to loud and everything in between much better. You can hear the background better. It seems like when I listen to cuts that I use all the time for testing, Mining for Gold by Cowboy Junkies, you hear the church and the ambience and the noise of the church so easily. It's just in the background. You don't have to strain to hear anything. It's all there. The HVAC sounds, it's all there. Glenn Gould, who I love, but a lot of people don't, when he plays the piano, you can hear him humming. It's just naturally there. It's as if you are there listening to him play just for you. Buddy Holly's No True Love Waits, at the beginning of the song, as the musicians are warming up, getting ready, you can hear all of that noise in the recording studio, and it's so apparent. And then the last thing, but not least, images are so much sharper. I don't know what it is. It's like I can easily pick out the outlines better. I can hear within the soundstage where everything has been focused by the recording engineer to where it's going to be. And on recordings that are done naturally without a lot of mixing and without a lot of production, like for example Peter McGrath's recordings, you hear this sensation of depth and layers so well. It's spooky. It really is quite spooky. So the Sasha V does all these things really well, and it also does the music side incredibly beautifully. I'll mention that in a moment. So I guess in a weird way, I didn't want the DAW to be superseded. It is a profoundly special speaker to me because I had many interactions with David Wilson, the man. Although I wouldn't say that we were close friends in any way, I'd met him many, many times at shows, and he always took the time to talk with me despite how busy the shows are, and ask about me and my family, ask about the business. And then on a number of occasions, we had dinner together, and we would sit together and discuss everything. He and I shared same interests and passion. And then we talked about also audio. We talked about the pros and cons of certain cartridges that we had both tried. Benz Micros, the Grados, and Decca cartridges. And then we talked about the pros and cons of dual concentric drivers that he had tried and so on. Just always had a great time speaking with him. What I took away from the meetings and the conversations I had with him, I grew to have this profound respect for this man who had such deep, intimate knowledge with so many different things that he cared about. But more to the point, he had this respect and commitment to exceptionalism, something that I can't say is true for many of the companies that produce high-end products today. He stood for and coined the phrase authentic excellence. And so perhaps those were the reasons why I felt dismayed. And I saw potentially that the Sasha V was a betrayal to David's memory. And perhaps my own when my time comes, what's going to be left of me. It's kind of an odd feeling. I decided to come into this room and listen to some music, and the Sashas were on. And so I opened up the Rune app. I typed in George Harrison, I don't know why, and one of the songs that came up was All Things Must Pass. And then suddenly it hit me. All things must pass. Nothing is forever. And David's legacy will live on through his friends, his family, his colleagues, his treasured staff, and through his designs. The fact that the Sasha V is better than the DAW does not diminish any of that. If anything, his contribution and his influence will be felt even more as a result of the continual improvements that Daryl and his team will continue to make. So, simply put, the Sasha V is extraordinary, outstanding, and deserves your time. If you get a chance, go listen to it. Anyway, I hope this review wasn't too morbid and too sad. I just wanted to put out my heartfelt feelings to share with all of you. I hope if you get a chance to hear the speakers, give me your feedback. If you already heard it, let me know what you thought. And we'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.